Okay, guys, good evening and happy Long Heritage Weekend in Canada, and welcome to the Zoom. My name is Dr. Silverman. I am a surgical pathologist with expertise in breast cancer. I practice in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I am with LifeVantage for 6+ years. I'm an avid, absolutely avid Nrf2 crazy one. I research Nrf2, I study Nrf2, I do my own studies on breast cancer and Nrf2, and I attend major Nrf2 conferences. So far, there were two, one in Cambridge in 2015, the other one in Madrid in 2017. The third one is coming in September 2019 in Japan, and hopefully I will make my appearance in the third one as well. So, what I wanted to talk to you today a little bit, I always do a literature search and I try to understand the importance of Nrf2 and the mechanism of cellular activation and upregulation and the pattern of Nrf2. Now, LifeVantage with Nrf2 PROTİNDIM is absolutely unique because of Nrf2. Today is a very, today's a very, one more time I'm using the word unique, because it's interesting, the more I learn about the Nrf2, the less I know. So I learn more and more, and I gain the understanding of it. So hopefully I can explain to you what I've learned in from my latest literature search. So obviously we are going to be discussing oxidative stress, and not only oxidative stress, but free radicals in association with our normal life cycle. So, and I will be quoting my slides. What does it mean, supraphysiologic level? Supraphysiologic basically means too much. It's too much of a normal levels of free radicals. Do we need free radicals? We absolutely must have some free radicals level. It is it's called basal level or physiologic normal level of free radicals. And that normal level of free radicals is going to upregulate our systems and also is going to upregulate the physiologic way of Nrf2 functioning. However, when it is abnormal, then it can cause oxidative stress and activate pro-inflammatory pathways, aka activate inflammation. And what happens is, especially in our lifestyle and our daily activities, the smoldering inflammation, it is a continuous low-grade inflammation that is so tightly linked with oxidative stress. It's a low level of inflammation that is caused by the excess of RONS, reactive oxygen and nitrogen species. So free radicals now are lumped into what we think is a free radicals or oxidants, free radicals that are caused by the reactive oxygen molecules, and then also by the reactive nitrogen molecules. And those two major categories are going to create free radicals. Now, why is it so important? Look at this slide. It may be complex, don't worry, I will explain. What do the excess free radicals or oxidative stress, what does it do to our cells? It harms us. How? let's say it oxidizes nucleic acid. It's a DNA. It harms our DNA. It harms our protein, means enzymes, and we know about that. Cellular membrane or cellular envelope, and we know that healthy cells only function when cellular envelope is complete, is intact, it is not cracked, it is not folded, it is not damaged. Proteins and lipids, and what are they? They are structural elements of our cells. They're also basically the food for our cells, and when they are inappropriate, when they're oxidized, when they're damaged by free radicals, that's when we are looking at some inappropriate, what is mutagenesis? Mutagenesis means cellular replication. And mutagenesis means replication of cancer cells. That is why the handle on oxidative stress is so critically important. Now, let's start talking about Nrf2. Nrf2 is a very, very complicated protein complex. It's not simple. It's not just one protein. It's a multifunctional complex that is tied up in the complex which is called keep or latch and hinge. So that keep, for example, holds Nrf2 like so, exactly like latch and hinge. And that complex, keep and Nrf2, then is tightly linked to another protein on enzymatic complex, which is called ARE, antioxidant response elements, because that ARE is going to turn on what we all know, survivor genes. Now, as you see here, Nrf2 is a central player in the regulation against environmental stresses. Why? For example, in normality, in physiology, why Nrf2 and that complex works in synergy. I will explain to you later, but now look, physiological role through anti-inflammatory against inflammation, antioxidant production, detoxification of the cells. Autophagy means wiping out of the bad cells, killing and eliminating the bad cells. Under normal physiologic, in normal life, Nrf2 is very interesting. How is it turned on? It's actually turned on by the normal volume of free radicals. But what happens is, when it is turned on and it does its function, it is immediately turned off. It's that positive negative loop of feedback that separates normality from pathology, and that's what separates nutrition or nutritional or nutrigenomic activators, or Nrf2 PROTİNDIM. Now, why is it so important? Normality, we know. Why this complex is so important in pathology? Well, because it plays the major role in health resilience, including inflammatory diseases, neurodegenerative disorders like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, chronic kidney disease, atherosclerosis, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, collagen vascular disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and so on and so forth. Guys, please give me 1 second. Somebody is chatting with me extensively. Now, we are in the company of nutrigenomics. However, we are also going to be we're going to be talking about epigenetics, meaning let's talk about environment. Nrf2 is bombarded, activated to deactivated with our lifestyle changes, environmental changes. However, it's also regulated from our DNA from the inside. And the interesting thing is, why do I always teach health or pillars of health with healthy choices, with healthy foods and stuff? Because what is epigenetically regulated means that when we start eating healthier, we are inadvertently with our consumption of, let's say, Nrf2 activators, we're going to exacerbate their activity. And it's all going to help the cells to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And under pathologic condition, that regulation between outside and inside changes, and the cell becomes resistant. Now, let's talk about two patterns of Nrf2 and why nutraceuticals and Nrf2 activators, including Nrf2 PROTİNDIM, are so good. Because with nutraceuticals and in normal cell regulations, Nrf2 undergoes four parts. A, Nrf2 senses oxidative stress of free radicals. B, Nrf2 responds to the oxidative stress of free radicals. And then it did a job. Then it is inactivated, and then it gets reset. That's what we need, and that is happened in normality, and that's what had happened with nutrigenomics, and that's what had happened with consumption of Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM. How does it happen? So what happens is, when there is oxidative stress, free radical attack, or we are consuming Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM, let's go back. Nrf2 is activated. What does it do? You remember the latch and hinge. So there is a separation when there is a response. So there is a separation between latch and the hinge. That hinges keep one, it goes away, and that latch Nrf2 goes into the nucleus, the core of the cell, and it turns on the other part that I was telling you previously, ARE, antioxidant response element, ARE, and that ARE is going to turn on, I'll show you later, about 500 survivor genes. What happens after Nrf2 is inactivated in the nucleus, and then it goes back into the cell, and it waits, and it is reset. So this is physiologic activation of Nrf2. That is the normal way. The second way we're going to be talking about is the hyperactivation of Nrf2, which happens in diseases and which happens in some kinds of cancers. Now, let's reiterate what I just said. It is like a wireless sensor. It is, in normality, is repressed by binding to keep, and then that actually allows degradation or inactivation of Nrf2. The interesting thing is how it happens, and that's what I've learned. It's interesting. It happens, Nrf2 basically operates by oscillation, and then it is activated, oscillated, separated from keep, goes into the nucleus, activates ARE, and then gets deactivated. And the oscillatory translocation of Nrf2 in and out of the nucleus enables that repeated sensing of cytoplasmic stress. That's what it is. It goes in, does the job, comes back, senses the stress, goes back into the nucleus, does the job, comes back. And that what is lost in pathologic, constant, continuous upregulation of Nrf2 in some of the chronic diseases as well as in cancer. Nrf2 in cancer. The interesting thing is, fully malignant cancer cells are autonomous. They have their own mechanism and they're not governed by anything. And some of the cancers, including liver, lung, colorectal, pancreas, prostate, gallbladder, and ovarian cancer, they acquire their own way of Nrf2 activation, which is uncontrolled and it is constantly upregulated. That is a difference. And in my mind, you can't upregulate something that is already upregulated. Now, let me tell you one thing about Nrf2 and Nrf2 PROTİNDIM. Sometimes people say, and this is a bit of a controversial statement, sometimes people say Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM is the most potent Nrf2 upregulator. I would like to refresh it or rephrase it. Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM may be the most physiologic Nrf2 activator. Nrf2 complex, it's not the one where the more is the merrier. The more in this case is not a good thing. It has to be done at the right concentration and with the right way. And that's what Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM applies. It allows us normal physiological upregulation of Nrf2, which then stimulates 500 survivor genes. Again, we're not treating, curing, mitigating disease. We are fighting or we are reducing oxidative stress. Let me remind you that Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM is scientifically proven to reduce oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. What does that tell you guys? It tells you that the residual 60% of oxidative stress you need to take care of with your lifestyle changes, with the application of different health modalities. Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM is essential part of my life, and I believe should be essential part of a lot of lives. But again, it doesn't treat, cure, mitigate disease. It's not end all and be all. The healthy lifestyle with different modification and exercise, that should be in your sort of, what you do. Now, let me go and talk to you a little bit about PROTÍNDIM ingredients. Why Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM to me is so magnificent. We know that the cell is an enormously complex mechanism. It's an enormously complicated factory or machine with myriad of biochemical pathways. So we already established that Nrf2 PROTÍNDIM upregulates Nrf2 protein complex, which is a master regulator of cellular health. And it does it in a normal physiologic way, from oscillatory dissociation from PEEP, upregulating antioxidant response element, activating 500 plus survivor genes. Now, every ingredient in PROTÍNDIM is a superfood or super herb on its own, meaning that Nrf2 Protandim, in my mind, not only applies as an Nrf is a liver cleanser, amongst others. Oh, we're having a storm, so you actually may lose my internet. A milk thistle is a liver cleanser. Turmeric is a natural medicinal king with myriads of health applications in different conditions, different chronicities, arthritides, blood disorders, and more, on and on and on. Green tea, ECGC, blood pressure control, depression, anti-inflammatory, used as a natural cancer remedy. Bacopa, used as an antidepressant, as an anti-inflammatory, as a remedy used in chronic renal or chronic kidney diseases. And ashwagandha is used as an adaptogen, as a booster of multiple systems, adrenals, antidepressants.
Hey everybody, to kind of like say hello, my name's Amanda, and she had asked me to the other day if I wanted to share a little bit of my experience at Tony Robbins the other day in Calgary. And I don't know if any of you would be interested, while we're waiting for Dr. Silverman to return, if anybody would be interested in wanting to hear a couple awesome things that I learned at Tony Robbins. Anybody? While we're waiting for Dr. Silverman to get back on, it was really cool. And I had the opportunity to volunteer, and I was in a wheelchair, and so a little nervous at first because I was like, what am I going to do? But we had a lot of fun. And my highlight, I'm not going to lie, was getting to give Tony Robbins a hug. That was pretty epic and awesome. But he taught a lot of things about our mindset and emotions that we put into our business. And one of the questions he asked us was, why is your business not successful? Anybody want to unmute for a second just to answer that? Why is your business not successful? And if nobody wants to, that's okay. A lot of people gave resources, right? We always say there's not enough time. We don't have enough money. All of these different things that were resources in our life. And what he showed us and taught us is that it's not our resources. Yes, stretching yourself too thin. One of the things he taught us, it's not our resources. It's our resourcefulness. And sometimes when we get ourselves into a state that's sad or frustrated or angry, can anyone think in your mind, if you think of someone who's angry, can you think of their disposition? What is their face? What is the sound and tone of their voice? And then you think of someone who's happy and excited, and think of when you see someone you haven't seen in a really long time and you welcome them, what your difference in mindset is. And so when we approach our business, when we're frustrated or angry or, all of those other emotions that go into this, when we approach our business in that way, it makes it really challenging for us to access the part of our brain that gives us the ability to be resourceful. And so really, it's not a matter of, it's just training your brain. Your brain is a muscle. And so it's learning to condition it to take back that control. And be aware when your shoulders start to slug forward, or you cross your arms, or your tone changes. Be really mindful of that. And he calls it your state. And so be really cautious of the state that you're in. And when you approach your business, raise yourself up to a higher level, a higher state of one of clarity and fun and joy and excitement. Because then you have a different perspective and perception on your business. He talked about, tools to be able to look at your business and to be resourceful. One of the things he talked about, one of the two things he suggested when it comes to your business, who is your perfect client? Who is that perfect client for you? Can you describe them? Do you know what their mannerisms are? Do you know how to reach them? What are their characteristics? Because then when you know all about them, then you know where to meet them at that state. You know how to approach them and to ask them questions, and being aware of that, if you started talking to someone who was angry about just in general, their state was angry, would they be open to a business opportunity? Probably not, right? Or they're frustrated, or they come across. So it's to help them, meet them where they are, and help move them to a different state before you approach them with your business opportunity or sharing the benefits of it, because sometimes they're not even thinking about the business or really hearing what you have, the amazing information that you have to share. And Dr. Silverman has shared such a plethora of information with us this evening. It was so incredible. But a lot of people miss it because they're so busy worried about the situation in life that made them feel the way they were feeling. And a lot of times, all the time, our emotions take over. And so therefore, we're not even cognitively thinking. Does that make sense? I am no Tony Robbins, and so I'm trying to explain it the best way that I can. Thanks, Mary. To really explain my interpretation of it. And if you all are interested, I'm also a certified coach, and I have a tool that I teach my clients to help them raise their state. I call it your emotional state, your emotional vibrational level. And I would love to teach you if anybody's interested in wanting to hear it, since we're all hanging out here. Yes? One of the things I teach my clients is that when we have an emotional ladder. So do you know, like, if you're really sad or frustrated or angry, it's very challenged to laugh, to just giggle and laugh hysterically, right? It's too big of a jump from one to the other. And so we need to assist ourselves to learn the tools and skills to move from where we are to where we want to be. And so what I teach my clients is, it's called Which Thought Feels Better. Okay, so the process is called Which Thought Feels Better. And what this does is it helps you use and build the tools and your brain muscle to be able to move through the different states. So if we're sad, you have angry and frustration and revengefulness, and and you move on up, and then you get happy and optimistic and excited, and then you get to a place where you're thinking of love and success. And so what we do is start think of something in your business. Maybe something that's frustrating for you or you feel stuck on, and you can jot that down. What is that for you? And then what we're going to do is think of something that feels just a little bit better than that. Maybe sometimes it's changing the wording that we use in it. Sometimes it's just a little shift in the terminology, like, when we think, oh, I'm going to be a Pro 4 or a Pro 5, and then inside you have that gut feeling like, oh, I don't know if that's really possible for me. But if you shift the wording on it to, you look at Sveta and you're like, it's possible to get to where she is. She's moved up past those ranks. So there's other leaders in our company that are up at different ranks. So it's possible. So if you put, it's possible to be a Pro 5, then you're switching the terminology and the wording in your brain to help your brain believe it, so that then you have a different level of optimism, right? And so it's just to change that, tweak that just a little bit. And sometimes all it takes is the wording, and to be technical with that. And so therefore you can motivate yourself to help be optimistic. And then when you're thinking like a Pro 5 and a Pro 6, that same situation that seems so big and challenging and frustrating, you're looking at it from a different perspective. Originally you were down here, and now you're up here, and you're looking at it from a different view, a view of possibility and optimism. And therefore the creativity comes through to help and assist you with solutions. That resourcefulness, you're then pulling from a different level of resources, and then to see the outcome a little bit differently. So I hope that tip helps you a little bit. Just write down where you're at, and then just kind of think which topic feels better, and maybe just switching the terminology. What if it's possible? It's possible. It's, I'm in the process of creating this, or more and more every day I feel great. It's that first terminology. And sometimes if you just switch that, it changes that whole sentence for you, allowing you to feel more resourcefulness on the solutions. I see Dr. Silverman is back and joining us. And so I'm sorry I hijacked.
Thank you so much, Amanda. That was awesome, because I actually was on the phone. I'm so sorry, guys. We have a thunderstorm. Internet went off. Everything went off. So we're back. So, now again, my internet connection is unstable. So thank you, Amanda. Thank you for jumping in. And guys, if you have any questions, unmute yourself and you can ask me, please. Thank you so much.